This commercial airplane was completely ready to land, but it had an accident just a few meters away from the runway. A bird hit the cockpit screen with great force. Luckily, the screen didn't break and the plane was able to land safely, but not all planes are as lucky. Welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, U.S. Air Base Flight 1549 was completely ready for takeoff at New York Airport. It was January 15, 2009, and it was 3:25 p.m. 1 minute later, the plane successfully took off, and the pilot sent a routine takeoff report to the control tower. This plane was an Airbus A320 with 150 passengers and 5 crew members. For the next 2 minutes, the plane continued to gain altitude, but at an altitude of 2,818 feet, the pilot saw a very large group of Canada geese in its path. Time was very limited, and it was impossible for the plane to turn in any way. Then, the worst nightmare that any pilot wants to face happened. The birds not only collided with the plane, but were also sucked into its powerful turbo air engine. Normally, in such a situation, the plane's engine fails, and the plane can be safely landed at the nearest airport with the help of the other engine. However, in the case of Flight 1549, the birds had been sucked into both of the plane's engines, and unfortunately, at an altitude of only 2,800 feet, the plane had lost power from both engines. Seeing their position and altitude, the pilots bravely decided to land the plane in the Hudson River. Immediately, boats present at the scene came to the plane's location and rescued all passengers and crew. This incident is also known as the Miracle of the Hudson, and it was the first and perhaps the last such event in aviation history in which there were no casualties despite engine failure at such a low altitude. Despite so much technology, airports around the world have still not been able to find a specific solution to this problem. It was not just birds. Even a small bird could cause significant damage to the entire plane. Not only birds, but there have also been several incidents reported during loading and unloading of planes where the jet engine pulls any nearby object towards it. Earlier, before the jet engine, propellers were attached to the piston engine on airplanes to generate thrust. The issue with these normal engines was that they could not produce enough thrust. Due to less thrust, the plane's speed was reduced, and it was unable to fly at higher altitudes. The world's first jet engine was created in 1930. This technology works by using a turbine to pull in air, compressing it, and then mixing it with fuel before igniting it. The resulting pressure created from the ignition pushes the aircraft forward at a high speed. In comparison to normal engines, jet engines have a lighter weight, are more fuel efficient, and have a higher thrust. They also produce less noise than piston engines. For example, if we talk about the engine of an Airbus A320, a single engine can suck in 1,250 kilograms of air per second. This air enters the engine from the front side. 1,250 kilograms means that if the engine is running, it can easily pull in any object that comes in its way, including luggage, trees, crew members, or even a small car. In this video, you can see that an E-170 aircraft is parked and its engine is running. In the tunnel, a crew member's cone is accidentally sucked in by the engine, and immediately a fireball comes out from the other side. This incident demonstrates the immense pressure of air that enters an engine. The pressure that exits the back of the engine is called thrust, which is much greater than the pressure that enters the engine, about 100 times greater. The thrust produced by the engine of an Airbus A320 is 127,000 kilograms. And if we consider both engines together, the total thrust produced is 254,000 kilograms. This is as much thrust as the weight of an average train engine, which means it is not wrong to say that if a train engine were placed behind the plane during takeoff, it could easily be pushed back. You can get an idea of this from a video in which a Boeing 777 is standing for takeoff, and it turns over an entire truck standing behind it due to its powerful thrust. We have seen many such videos in which tourists near St. Martin Airport fall repeatedly due to the thrust of the jet engine, and a woman has even died. After seeing these videos, we can get a good idea of the power of jet engine thrust. To avoid such accidents, airport authorities have created many SOPs. They determine when can the crew approach the plane's engine and how much distance do they need to keep. The biggest risk is during baggage loading because the engine is on at that time, and the luggage loading happens on its front side. To avoid such dangers, modern airports now use automatic conveyor belts to load luggage. In addition, during boarding, a tunnel is often attached directly to the aircraft door, not to provide luxury for passengers, but to avoid accidents. Airport authorities have strict standard operating procedures that no object should be placed in front of the engine during boarding, and the engine should only be turned on after all staff have finished their work and moved to the side. The mark placed on the plane's turbine is also there for the same reason, to easily see that the turbine is spinning during rotation. So, these are the steps that can be taken to prevent losses due to human errors. But what about birds? They are unaware and voiceless. According to an estimate, the aviation industry suffers a loss of $1.2 billion every year due to birds. Aviation engineers and airport authorities have been looking for a solution to this problem for many years, but so far, they have been unsuccessful. However, this does not mean that efforts are not being made to keep birds away from planes. That's why we don't see many trees in airport compounds, especially around runways, because they are the trees on which birds sit or make their nests. Airports are perhaps the only places where efforts are made to scare birds away on a mass level. Sometimes gunshot fire is used to scare them, statues are erected, or the sounds of hunting animals are played through loudspeakers. In some airports, hunting dogs and falcons are kept to prevent birds from entering the compound. Along with this, nothing is left at the airport that could attract birds towards it, such as open ponds where birds can drink water. To such an extent, robotic falcons are also being developed using artificial intelligence to keep other birds away from the airport. Now you may be wondering, why not just put a protective net on the engine to avoid all this trouble? This would not only prevent birds, but also any other object from entering the engine. The truth is that jet engines suck in such a large amount of air that if a mesh or air net were placed in front of them, it would significantly disrupt the airflow. Additionally, even if a bird does not make it inside the engine, it can get caught in the net and further disrupt the airflow. Most birds only collide with planes during takeoff or landing because they cannot fly at high altitudes. However, reports show that falcons have been seen flying up to 15,000 feet, and certain types of ducks migrate at surprising altitudes of up to 23,000 feet. These are birds that have not yet had any special measures taken to keep them away from planes. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you will like and share it. Thank you very much for your lovely comments. See you in the next amazing video. Take care for now. Goodbye.